Hey guys, Rukshan here. Episode 2 is happening. That's right. So it wasn't just a one episode wonder for my vlog. I'm actually making a second episode. I did also actually get lots of concern regarding my health because I am a big fan of these energy drinks. So yes, I'm having my customary energy drink in the morning. But based on the comments that you guys are writing, I feel maybe I'll change my habits and switch to juice or something like this. I am just going to give you an idea of where I am. I'm in a very beautiful part of our state here in King Lake. I'm traveled up here for a photo shoot with a couple who are getting married in a private farm. So I can't show you any of that, unfortunately, because I haven't talked to them about it. If I can show you guys what I'm doing with this photo shoot and stuff. But that is my regular gig. So normally on a Saturday or a Sunday is my bread and butter, to put it that way. So that's when I have to work and, obviously pay the bills and do all those things. So normally I'm working. So first up, the story that I will be talking about is, around these domestic terrorists in Australia who are being released out into the public. Christmas time, we had a major domestic terrorist being released after serving their sentence. And in the next, I think, 4 or 5 years, according to an article that I read here in the news today, there will be about 15 other such domestic terrorists who are being released into the public after serving their sentences and parole or whatever else. So the reason I'm bringing this up is because according to the statistics in this article, it costs the taxpayer, so the Australian public, around $7,500 per hour, right? Per hour to monitor these people, right? To monitor this group of people. How crazy is that? The expenses that we are and the resources that we are putting towards this to monitor people who are, frankly, people who have wanted to cause destruction and death and mayhem in this country. And because now they're out in the general population, we have to spend these extra money, extra resources to ensure that they don't, reoffend. Because if they reoffend and they're successful, well, it's a big issue for us, right? Especially if these terrorists are successful. Now, as a person who would normally criticize governments and all this kind of stuff for spending money, I think we're in a situation where we have no choice. How do we not monitor these people and just let them loose in society after what they've committed to do in the past? I mean, how can we just ignore them knowing their history? So we almost have no choice but to do this, because the current Labor government is blaming the Liberal Party, who were in power for much of this time, right? And then the Liberal Party, the opposition right now, is blaming the Labor Party. But at the end of the day, it's the public who are at risk if these people reoffend. And a funny part of this story that I found is, there shouldn't be anything funny, but when the terrorist that threatened to blow up the MCG was released, I'm pretty sure the MCG management put out a statement saying that this guy's banned from the MCG venue. I mean, that should really reassure us, right? The guy that wanted to blow up the MCG has been banned from the venue. You would hope so that was the case. But is that really going to stop someone from, committing a terror plot? The fact that they're banned from doing something like this. So a lot of issues with this. The cost exorbitant. We almost have nowhere to deal with this in a way that people don't kick up a fuss about it, because there's people that defend this kind of stuff. Because a legitimate argument that's being made is, if these people aren't naturalized Australians or citizens, if they weren't born here, for instance, if they have dual citizenships, they should potentially be deported from this country. Now, I'm generally against this idea of deporting people from Australia, but if you are someone who has threatened this country, if you are someone who has wanted to harm people en masse, cripple infrastructure, and commit acts of terrorism against this country, I think that is such a bar that is deport worthy. And I would probably not have too much opposition to people like this facing deportation or loss of their citizenship even, to be quite honest, because it just rises to that level. I don't know. Let me know what your thoughts are in terms of how to deal with this. I think going forward, there needs to be clear guidelines for people that commit these kind of acts of terror. There potentially needs to be new legislation put together to deal with this. even with people who have come to this country illegally via illegal immigration or seeking asylum or whatever, and then ended up in detention with known criminal histories. We had that issue last year, right? All these people being let go because of a high court decision, and then the next thing you know, some of these people are reoffending, even things like sexual assault. So these people are knowingly being put into our communities, and our government, where is the responsibility to the general public who should be protected from these type of people? So that's the first story that I wanted to cover. Second story that a lot of us are still talking about is around these Epstein client list, right? The client list, so-called client list. And there's been multiple drops of these documents that have these names in them. Now, these documents really don't necessarily pertain to a client list as we are talking about it, or the terms that we might think of a client list in. But the media, so many people are portraying it as a list of clients of Epstein. And I think that is the wrong approach. And in a way, I believe this is actually muddying the waters around this and leading to even more conspiracies around all of this, right? There's enough conspiracies to do with this list. There's enough conjecture. There's enough speculation around this because there was a lot of unknowns. And one thing that these documents have done is by getting rid of these redacted names and actually showing us who these people who are named in these testimonies of this particular case involving Maxwell, who these people were, it just adds clarity, it adds some context, and it allows us to maybe ask more questions. But the way that it's been portrayed as a list, I think it's just to muddy the waters, because now what we're seeing is with the names on that and with it being said to be a list, people are making all types of accusations, all types of connections, and it's just gone wild in terms of conspiracy. And perhaps that's what they want. You know, a lot of people, when I'm talking about this, I talked about this on Twitter straight after these documents were released, and some people will bring this idea up of an intelligence operation around this being a limited hangout. And looking into what that's about is it's where intelligence agencies, drop some information on the public with the help of the media and, other agencies and so forth to give the illusion of giving information. But actually what it does is adds more, mud to the actual story in terms of it's not very clear anymore. And that's what's happened here, right? We've got people making accusations from this. We've got people making fake documents, right, with statements, and some of it's meme, some of it's very clearly said to be a meme, but people are using that and going with it. One was the thing involving Stephen Hawking, the quadriplegic, and yes, he was named in an email that Epstein was sending, and it does talk about orgies, it does talk about all this stuff, but again, it's all speculation based on this. But what then people have done is then made another meme around him, having a fetish for midgets standing on a stool and writing on a chalkboard. Now that was all made up, but it's made up in the same manner and the style of these documents that a lot of people believe this. So that's the issue that we're running into with this. The stuff involving Bill Clinton liking them young. Bill Clinton is a sleazebag. He's got a shady history. We've known for a long time of his connections to Jeffrey Epstein and his connections to the flights. All of this stuff has been in the public domain through speculation sometimes, but to actually see his name on there, again, doesn't confirm anything. It's not going to lead to any arrests or any type of difficulty for him besides maybe embarrassment. But these people don't even care. The stuff around Alan Dershowitz, again, these are allegations. That's the problem here. So a lot of people are like, well, these people are in there. It says that this happened. These aren't documents from an official capacity of the police or a official judgment where it says that these people have been found guilty. These are from depositions by people that say that this is what they allege, right? And that is all it is, and that's been put into the public. So it could be it's someone's word against someone else's word. It's witness testimony against other witnesses that say that this didn't happen. So unless these things are tried in a court or, if law enforcement gets involved, it's nothing. All of this is absolutely nothing. It's not the actual list. What we actually need is if there is a definitive list of people that has these connections, that has these transactions, that has or shows where these blackmail attempts or whatever were made by Epstein and Maxwell, they're the conclusive documents that we need. And we know potentially that the FBI, during their raids of Epstein properties and his assets and all this kind of stuff, a lot of this type of information, including documents, videos, photos, were seized by the FBI, right? These are the stuff that's not being released. These court documents with people's names on them, they're almost nothing. Of course, there is a bit of embarrassment for the people that are named on them. There might be professional consequences for them in terms of, what's going to happen because their names are there and they have to clear their names. People might sue them in a civil suit and allege things, and they might settle out of court because they don't want the embarrassment of it, but none of it actually proves anything. What we really need is either a government that's willing to release these files through the FBI, which is very unlikely to ever happen. Whistleblowers to release the actual documents in terms of these lists or the black book or things like the videos or the photos the FBI might have seized, that type of leak. Those are the things which make this legitimate. Right now, what we're seeing is, I believe, in my heart of hearts, a cleanup operation by intelligence agencies like the FBI, putting this information out there, letting people speculate over it, all sorts of things being said. And what's going to happen is, even that the media is involved now, next time that these things come up, they're just going to turn around and be like, oh, we already released the list, a few months ago. It's all been sorted out. This is all just the conspiracy people. This is great news for people who are actually on the list, because now all these people are implicated, right? And from these documents which have been released at the moment, you see this playing out right now. These documents, if it were to taken, at face value, they seem to exonerate Donald Trump completely, because even though the media says that Donald Trump is on the list, right? He's on the list for Epstein just talking about going to the Trump casinos. I mean, big deal, right? Trump is on the list for another witness who's being asked questions in one of these depositions. Was Donald Trump ever there? And they're saying no. So that's the extent of Trump being on these in these documents at the moment. But of course, the media runs with the story: Donald Trump on Epstein client list, right? This is what's happening here. And I think, if we want to look into Epstein and Maxwell and their connections to intelligence and the US government, and some people are even saying Mossad, all these things, yes, there's a worthy way to look into those things. And there's people doing that legitimately who are spending a lot of time trying to find out what these connections are. But in general, what this current document, if it's going to have some sort of revelation or impact or something like this, I highly doubt it. I think it's going to take more than what we're getting now. And maybe I could be wrong. Maybe there will be something that comes out of this. But at the moment, I just don't see it happening. Finally, last story I want to end on with is, of course, sticking to the US, and that is Donald J. Trump. You've seen his trials and tribulations. They're going after him hard in New York, in Colorado, in Maine. The most recent stuff, of course, with Maine and Colorado, with the state themselves trying to bar Donald Trump from running in the general election by saying that his name cannot be on the ballot. Now, this has been taken up by the Supreme Court in the US, so they will address this question. Which is what needs to happen, I think. I think if the Supreme Court addresses this question, and I believe that they will fall on the side of Donald Trump and say that this is ridiculous, because they're claiming that, this is based on the fact that he led an insurrection. He's never been charged with any such thing. Again, we have allegations and accusations based on, Trump derangement syndrome from these Democrats in the US. For us watching from afar, right, America, the US looks like a banana republic. They look psychotic in the way that they're carrying out this thing. It looks like a third world country, right? Biden today held speeches and gave these comments because tomorrow is J6 in America, which is the day that they almost lost democracy in America, if you listen to the Democrats. Crazy stuff, right? Because a bunch of people protested and walked through the Capitol building. We've seen the videos. We've seen the evidence slowly coming out now, where the police are opening the doors. People are walking through. The stuff that they're saying happened on that day does not really match up with the videos of what happened on J6. And these people are acting like it was the end of the world for them. Sure, I mean, maybe it shouldn't have happened the way it happened, but it's not to the level where, Trump should be taken off the ballot in Colorado or Maine and disqualified from the election and being charged with leading an insurrection. Because on the day itself, he told people not to go to the Capitol and do this, right? There's all of this, but there's this nonsense. So I think it's good that the Supreme Court once and for all looks into this issue and actually, deals with it and sets a precedent potentially, so other states don't play these shenanigans. Because what we're seeing right now is democratic states run by the Democrats, who are willing to use lawfare to muddy this election as well, right? The 2024 election is being muddied by the Democrats. They're doing all that they can to help Joe Biden. So hopefully the Supreme Court in the US, which does have a lot of people who have been picked by Trump, take it as you will, the Republican picked justices of the court, they might see more reason, right? These people. So potentially they'll make the right decision in accordance with the law, because some dude who hasn't been convicted of insurrection and all this kind of stuff shouldn't be taken off a ballot in an election in a country where they say it's all about democracy and Biden's fighting for democracy. They're taking their opposition off the ballot based on allegations and things that they don't like about the way he speaks and acts. So complete nonsense, and I'm hoping for a swift decision by the US Supreme Court, because it just puts all of that nonsense to bed. It very clearly looks like Donald Trump is set to win the Republican nomination. They'll continue to play these games, but it doesn't look like he's not going to win the Republican nomination. So, of course, all of this has to be sorted out beforehand, but they will drag it on. I believe the Democrats will try to drag it on as long as they can. Anyway, guys, I have probably waffled on again on this second episode, covering these 3 stories today as I'm out and about. If you have any more stories that you'd like me to cover, let me know in the comments. Otherwise, I will see you guys all next time.